Good day, everyone. So for today's video, we're going to discuss something about the standard form of the equation of the hyperbola given that our center is at HK. So from the previous video, we have discussed the standard equation of the hyperbola to which the center is at the origin. And if the hyperbola is oriented horizontally, then our standard equation would be at x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. And if we're going to have hyperbolas to which our center is at HK and at the same time it is oriented horizontally, then we would have modifications on our x and y coordinates. Meaning, our standard equation would be at x minus h square over a square minus y minus k square over b square equals 1. So, nagkaroon lang po tayo ng modifications kay x and y coordinates. And if our hyperbola naman is oriented vertically, kung saan yung negative sign natin ay na kay x, then our standard equation would be at y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. To which kapag ang center naman natin ay nasa HK, then magkakaroon tayo ng modifications kay y at saka kay x. Hence, our new standard equation would be at y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. And para mas ma-practice tayo on how to use this standard equation, then let us have an example. Suppose we have this problem. Suppose we have a center at 4, negative 3, one focus at 4, 2, and a vertex at 4, 1. So let us first list down all the given. Sabi dyan, ang center natin is at 4, negative, our center is at 4, negative 3, and our one of the focus is at 4, 2, and one of the vertex or one of the vertices, is at 4, 1. To which kapag ipa-plot natin siya sa ating Cartesian coordinate system, then we have the center at 4, 4, negative 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have 1. We have 1, 2, and 3. So this would be the center of our hyperbola. And sabi dyan, one of its foci is at 4, 2. So we have here 4, 2. This is 4, 1, 2. So this is one of the foci. Okay? And then, ang sunod natin is a vertex at 4, 1. So we have down here 4, 1. So ito po yung isang vertex. Okay po? To which, kapag meron tayong ganito or kapag na-illustrate na natin siya, then we would have an idea that if the vertex is above the center, then magkakaroon tayo ng idea na ang ating hyperbola is oriented vertically. Okay po, kasi yung ating foci at saka yung vertex ay nasa taas ni center. Kaya po ang ating hyperbola is oriented vertically. Alright, so we have a vertical hyperbola to which our transverse axis is vertical and our conjugate axis is now horizontal. Okay po? Now, let us have the distance between the center and the vertex. Okay? So, mula kay center, papunta kay vertex, ilang units po yung layo niya. So, we can either use the distance formula or by just counting it, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So, we have down there 4 units. Ibig sabihin, yung distance mula kay center at kay vertex, that is our A. Then, nung binilang natin, that is 4 units. And if we're going to use the distance formula, we will also yield with 4 units. Then, the value of A would be 4. And for us to what? For us to get the second vertex, then, ang gagawin natin, since vertically oriented yung ating hyperbola, ang gagalawin natin kay center would be the y coordinate. Okay? So we will have, ang atin pong vertex is at HK. So, ang ating center is at HK, then our second vertex would be at H, K. Since dito nag-add tayo dahil pataas, then yung second vertex natin is mag-deduct tayo ng A unit. So, we have K minus A. And ang ating center kanina, tulad ng sinabi sa problem, is at 4, negative 3. So, we have 4, negative 3 minus ang ating A ay 4. So, we would have our second vertex at 4, negative 7. Okay po? So, that would be the value of A. So, we just have landed with our second vertex. So, let us graph this one. So, if this is 4, negative 3, negative 4, 5, 6, 7. So, this is where our second vertex is. Okay? And then, let us now proceed with the distance from the center down to our one of the foci, sorry. Either using the distance formula or by counting, since we have illustrated this, then we can yield with what? We can yield with the value of C, since C is the distance between the center and the focus. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the value of C now would be 5. Okay? So the value of C is 5. And if our center is at HK, then our second focus would be obtained by what? By adding or subtracting C units to the Y coordinate of our center. And since dito, halata naman na nag-add na tayo ng C units, then the second focus would be obtained by subtracting C units to the Y coordinate of our center. So we have the focus is at H, K minus C. So we have ang ating pong center is at 4, negative 3 and ating C ay negative or ang ating C is positive 5. So we have negative 3 minus 5. Therefore, our second focus would be at 4, negative 8. Okay po? And if we're going to plot it on our Cartesian coordinate system, then we have, this is 4, negative 7. So we have negative 8. So this is where our second focus is. Okay po? Next, so we have now the values of A and C. Ang nawawala na lang po is the value of B. Okay, for us to get the standard equation of our hyperbola. So for us to get the value of B, since the value of A is 4 and the value of C is 5, then we have the relation C square is equal to A square plus B square. So si C ay si 5, so we have 5 square. Lakihan lang natin. We have 5 square equals to A square, or A is 4 plus B square. So we have 25 equals to 16 plus B square. And by manipulating this, we would have 25 minus 16 equals B square. Then we have 9 equals B square. And for us to get the value of B, we extract the root of both sides. Then the value of B would be 3. Okay? So we would have the value of B as 3. Okay? And by that, by the help of our conclusion, by the help of our thoughts kanina, that our hyperbola is vertically oriented, then our standard form of the equation would be, since vertical siya, ang atin pong naka-square or ang atin pong positive na coordinate would be, or the positive variable should be y. So we have y minus k square over a square minus x minus h square over b square equals 1. And by plugging in all the necessary values to our form or to our standard equation, then our standard equation for our parabola would be at y minus, so ang ating pong k sa ating center is at negative 3. So we have y minus negative 3 square over, ang ating pong value na a is 4. So we have 4 square minus x minus, so ang ating h po ay 4 square over, then the value of b, tulad ng sinabi kanina, is 3. So we have here 3 square equals 1. And by simplifying this, we have y plus 3 square over 16 minus x minus 4 square over 9 equals 1. So this would be the standard form of the equation of our hyperbola. Okay po, to which our center is at 4 comma negative 3. Alright, so we would also need the equations of our asymptote. And um, for us to do that, what we're going to do is for the long method, we are to equate the equation to zero. Okay? So kung sa previous examples natin, if our hyperbola is oriented horizontally, so for example, this one, if if the center is at the origin, okay, that is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. The equations of the asymptote would be what? It would be at y equals, so positive and negative b over a x. So we have just proven that it is the shortest way for us to get the equations of the asymptote if our hyperbola is oriented horizontally. Okay? So what if our our hyperbola is oriented vertically just like this one? Okay? So let us prove it using the standard equation of the hyperbola given that the center is at the origin. Okay? So we have down there y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. And ang gagawin natin para makuha natin yung shortest way for us to get the equations of the asymptote is for us to what? For us to equate this to 0. Hence, we would have y squared over a squared y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 0. At ang gagawin natin is for us to leave y alone on the one side of the equation, and then the other terms with other variables ay dun sa kabilang side ng equation. Hence, we would have y squared over a squared equals x squared over b squared. At para a squared lang, y squared lang yung matira sa kabila, then we have to multiply both sides by a squared. Hence we would have y squared equals to a squared, yes, a squared over times x squared over b squared. And para y lang po yung matira, we have to extract the root of both sides. Hence, we would have the equations of the asymptotes given that the hyperbola is oriented vertically as y equals positive and negative 1. The square root of a squared x squared is ax over b. Okay po? So, ganito po yung magiging shortest way natin for us to get the asymptotes of the equations of the asymptotes of the hyperbola oriented vertically. But then again, yung center natin dito is at HK. Meaning to say, there are modifications sa ating H and K. Okay? So, if there are modifications sa ating H and K, hence, lagyan natin siya ng modifications. Then, we would have y minus k, since may modification tayo kay y, equals to positive and negative a over b multiplied by x minus h, dahil may modification din tayo kay x coordinate. So, given that our hyperbola is oriented vertically, then for us to get the equations of the asymptotes the shortest way, then we have to use this formula. We have y minus k equals positive and negative a over b times x minus h. But then, sabi natin, kailangan po ay y lang po yung nasa kabilang side ng equation. Hence, imo-modify pa natin ito, then we would have y equals what? Positive and negative a over b times x minus h plus k. So, ito na po yung gagamitin natin for us to get our equations of the asymptote given that it is oriented vertically and our center is at hk. Okay? Since our value of a here is our value of a here is 4, then we would have y equals positive or negative 4, and then the value of our b is 3 times x minus the value our center is at hk, to which the x coordinate is at our x coordinate is at 4. So we have x minus 4, then plus our value of k is negative 3. And then simplifying this, we would have y equals positive or negative 4 over 3 times x minus 4 minus 3. At paghihiwalayin na po natin yung dalawang possibilities na meron tayo. So we would have here, y equals positive, so positive x, 4 over 3x, 4 over 3 times x minus 4 minus 3, and then the other one is y equals negative 4 over 3 times x minus 4 minus 3. And then, isi-simplify na po natin yung ating dalawang equations ng asymptote. So, we would have y equals, this is, if we multiply 4 over 3 by x, so we would have 4 over 3x, and then we multiply 4 over 3 by negative 4. So, that would be negative 16 over 3. So we have minus 3. And then, doing all the simplification, then we would have y equals 4 over 3x minus 16 over 3. So we have to represent the whole number 3, to which ang ating denominator din ay 3, kung saan equivalent siya kay 9 over 3. So we would have y equals, okay, so that would be y equals 4 over 3x minus, so if we're going to simplify this, okay, so if we're going to simplify negative 16 over 3 minus 9 over 3, then that would be negative 25 over 3. So this would be the first equation of our asymptote. And the second one would be what? And the second one would be, we have here y equals, so negative 4 over 3 times x, that is negative 4 over 3x. And then negative 4 over 3 times negative 4, that is positive 16 over 3. And then we have minus 3. And then simplifying this, we would have y equals to negative 4 over 3x. And then plus 16 over 3. And then we have to represent the whole number 3 with the denominator of 3, to which it is equivalent to negative 9 over 3. And doing all the simplification, then we would have y equals negative 4 over 3x, and then so positive 16 over 3 minus 9 over 3, so that would be positive 7 over 3. Hence our second equation of the asymptote would be y equals negative 4 over 3x plus 7 over 3. To sketch the graph of our hyperbola, since ang value ng a natin ay 4, then the length of our transverse axis would be 8. Okay? So that would be 8. So ang ating transverse axis ay vertical. So from the center, so ito po yon. So we would have 8. So ito po. Ito po yung magiging reference natin for in drawing our, or in illustrating our transverse axis. And then our vertical, what do you call that? Ang ating conjugate axis would be 2b, and the value of b is 3. Hence, that would be 6. So from the center, dapat perpendicular siya kay transverse axis. So we have 3 here, and then another 3 here. And yun po yung magiging guide natin in what? In illustrating our auxiliary rectangle. And by this, we can have our line, or the asymptote itself. So we would have that one. And by connecting the vertex to that of our hyperbola na mismo, then the what do you call that? the hyperbola would look like this one. So, eto po. Ayan, so this is the first one, and this is the second one. Okay? So that is the graph of the hyperbola, to which our standard equation now is y plus 3 square over 16 minus x minus 4 square over 9 plus equals 1. Okay po? And that's how we use the standard form of the equation of the hyperbola, given that our center is at it's at HK.